To continue this debate, we're joined now by two specialists who have their own opinions. My Fox colleague, Kato McFarland, once worked in Ronald Reagan's Defense Department. She says we should bomb ISIS, destroy their resources. But Emma Ashford, national security specialist with the Cato Institute, says she fears more military action would make things worse. Why?
Syria has, for the last 5 years, been just a cauldron of violence with lots of different countries arming rebels, throwing more resources into it, more and more violence, more and more.
So Ted Cruz says we're going to just take them all out, finally. We're going to get serious.
Well, that's just not practical.
KT, you want to do more?
Look, I think bombing ISIS and taking ISIS out is only part of the issue.
But how is that even possible?
Okay, but here's the thing. We went at militarily. We went after al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. They moved to Pakistan. We got them in Pakistan. We got bin Laden. Then they moved to Iraq. We got them in Iraq. They went to Syria. Now we're going to talk about getting them in Syria. They're going to move to Libya. It's not just a military solution. A military solution is an essential part of it. Not necessarily U.S. boots on the ground, but a military solution. But then you've got to have an economic part of it, a diplomatic part,
all right, we all agree on that. Part. But the military solution, don't we create more terrorists, more enemies? If you kill the guy's cousin, now he wants to murder me.
Only if you have to also destroy the ideology at the same time.
How do you do that?
Here's the thing. The Islamic State is now the magnet for any jihadi wannabe worldwide. This is a country the size of Great Britain. It is a functioning state. It has taxes. It delivers social services. It has an annual budget. It has a border. It has a well-organized and well-equipped and well-trained military. So what is the military solution? It's not going to be American boots on the ground of 100,000 American troops. The only people who can do a military solution are the people on the ground. Now, the United States has a role as quarterback. I mean, we all watch football games, right? What would a game be like with no quarterback? Everybody be running all over the field. Everybody be tackling everybody else. The United States
so we have to take the lead, whatever that means.
Yeah, but not necessarily militarily. We take the lead in saying, okay, you guys can do this, you guys can do that, you do this.
I think part of the problem is when the U.S. takes the lead, it drives a lot of these young people, disaffected youth across the Middle East and other places to say, oh, the U.S. is fighting us, we must fight them.
Okay, so then what do you do? How do you solve it?
We have to encourage regional powers to step up. We have to encourage the
President Obama says we have mobilized 65 countries to go after ISIL.
Well, most of those 65 countries aren't actually engaged in the fight. The Europeans have only stepped up in the last couple of weeks. The Gulf states that were bombing in Syria haven't done any bombing raids since they invaded Yemen.
So we then should just back off since they won't do it?
No, we need to tell these states that we're not just going to fill the gap if you won't do it. These states are far more vulnerable to ISIS than we are. They have a much bigger stake in the game, but every time we step up and offer some sort of U.S. military support, they don't have an incentive to do it themselves.
If they're willing to fight, give them the weapons. I mean, the Kurds are willing to fight, the Sunni tribes are willing to fight.
Has this backfired? We armed the Mujahideen, they became the Taliban.
Well, we are not arming them.
But you want to do it, and I'm afraid they're going to use those arms to kill us.
We're not going to be there. Let them fight the fight there. Look, there are two ways to kill a snake. There's an old Chinese proverb. You can cut off his head or you can starve him. He dies either way. One takes a little longer. Starve the snake. Go after their economic prowess. Cut it off and then watch them
What about that?
starve.
Bomb their oil fields.
We're already doing it. In fact, in the last couple of weeks, we started bombing oil trucks, which is relatively destructive. We are cutting off most of their sources of income, but most of ISIS income comes from predation upon its own people. They're extorting the people that live inside their state. That money's not going to go away, and we can't cut it off just by stopping smuggling in oil.
Finally, does it matter if politicians use the phrase Islamic terrorism?
We can call it radical Islamic terrorism if you want, the same way that we could call Irish terrorists radical Catholic terrorists. It doesn't actually help. It doesn't change anything in the long run. We're just giving it a name.
We should be calling them Islamic extremists because the good Muslims who practice the faith, the 99% of the people who are good, God-fearing, Allah-fearing Muslims, they don't want to be associated with the others. So if we call the others out...
Why wouldn't George W. Bush do it then?
I think he was wrong. I think he made a huge mistake. Call it what it is. If you don't call it what it is, very difficult to rally the people behind you to defeat it.
The danger in doing that is that you demonize an entire group of people, as Donald Trump has started to demonize an entire religion. I think if we think of terrorists more as criminals, more as deranged people, the evidence actually from research shows that a lot of time these sort of lone wolf terrorists would have done it for some other reason. They're not necessarily wedded to, say, jihadist ideology.
Well, a lot of them have been Islamic.
They use it as an excuse, though. Actually, a lot of the people that go out to Syria to join ISIS aren't really Muslim. They are converts. They are very unfamiliar with the faith. Some of the terrorists that were stopped on their way into Syria were carrying Islam for Dummies in their bags because they didn't understand the faith.
These are just sociopaths who want to do something.
I think that ISIS is a cause, and it is calling to people. And I think we can do a lot to undermine that cause and make it less attractive to them. But I think in the long run, they'll be attracted to something else. So we have to try and stop the problem now before it spreads.
Emma, KT, thank you. For you to join this argument, use